Ezra did not stop going to church because God failed him. He stopped because people did. Once, Ezra was the kind of boy everyone pointed at and said, "That man will be a great man of God." But today, his church shoes are dusty and his Bible had been closed. This is how his story changed. He did not grow up in the streets. He did not grow up roaming around the neighborhood or spending his Sundays at home all day. He grew up in church. Before he even understood what prayer meant, he already knew how to fold his hands and bow his head. Before he could read very well, he already knew how to open a Bible and pretend to follow along when people were reading. Church was the first place he knew as a home outside his house. Every Sunday morning, while other children complained about waking up early, Ezra was already awake. His clothes were laid out neatly the night before. His shoes were polished and his jotter was placed beside him, ready. There was no question of, "Are you going to church?" It was always, "Hurry up, we are late for church." His father was one of the pastors in Living Truth Bible Assembly, and that meant Ezra did not just attend church, he belonged to it. From the moment they stepped into the church compound, people noticed him. Some smiled at him, some patted his head, and some called him by name. "That is Pastor's son," they would always say, and Ezra felt important when they said that, and he also felt chosen. His father was always busy in church. If he was not preaching, he was counseling someone. If he was not counseling, he was praying with people. If he was not praying, he was attending meetings. Ezra followed him everywhere. When his father walked, Ezra walked behind him. When his father stopped, Ezra stopped. When his father opened his Bible, he opened his own. People joked and called him assistant pastor. Some even said it like a prophecy, and Ezra liked the sound of it. Church programs were long, sometimes too long for a child. His legs would ache from standing. His eyes would get heavy during night vigils. Sometimes hunger would disturb him while sermons went on and on. But Ezra rarely complained. He believed this was what a good child of God did. At home, his father was strict. Very strict. He believed that children should be trained early before the world trained them wrongly. Ezra was taught discipline the hard way. If Ezra lied, he was punished. If he disobeyed, he was corrected immediately. If he talked back, he was reminded who he was and where he came from. But his father was not cruel. After punishments came teaching. After correction came explanation. His father was sitting down and speak slowly, looking him straight in the eyes. "Ezra, God hates lies," he would say. "Ezra, fear God even when nobody is watching. Ezra, it is better to suffer for doing good than to enjoy doing evil." Ezra listened, and those words sank deep into his heart. His mother supported his father completely. She made sure her words were no different from her husband's. Sometimes Ezra wished he could speak prayer and sleep. Sometimes he wished his father was not a pastor, but he never said it out aloud. Schoolmates sometimes laughed at him. "Church boy," they called him. "Pastor Pikin." But Ezra did not mind. He rather felt proud. He believed being different was a good thing. When other children talked about movies and games, he talked about sermons and Bible stories. When others talked about football matches, he talked about church programs. And over the years, church shaped how he saw the world. He believed good people always won. He believed the church will always stand for the truth, and he also believed that when trouble comes, the church will protect its own. At that time, Ezra's heart was pure. His faith was simple. His trust was complete. He did not know that life could change overnight. He did not know that people could clap for you today and forget you tomorrow. He never imagined a day will come when those same walls will feel empty. He never imagined that the same church he loved so deeply would one day be silent when his family needed it most. Inside Living Truth Bible Assembly, many people saw Ezra's father as a strong pillar. When he spoke, people listened. When he advised, people obeyed, and when he prayed, people believed something would change. But outside the church walls, he was a hardworking man. He believed that a pastor should not beg to survive, and he believed that God's work deserved dignity. So he worked hard, very hard, to provide for his family and still support the church. Ezra watched his father wake up early every morning. Some days he left the house before the sun came out. Other days he returned late, tired with sweat on his face and dust on his shoes. Yet he never complained. When Ezra once asked him why he worked so much, his father smiled and said, "A man must be responsible. God hates laziness." Those words stayed with him. The business was doing well. Very well. Money came in steadily. The house was peaceful. Food was always on the table. School fees were paid in time, and Ezra never lacked basic things. But what surprised Ezra most was not how much his father had, it was how much he gave away. People came to their house almost every day. Some came crying, some came begging, and some came ashamed. Pastor Eze listened to everyone. A widow would come saying she could not pay her children's school fees. He would open the drawer and bring out money. A church member would say rent was due. He would help. Someone will need money to start a small business. He would advise and support. Ezra sometimes wondered why his father gave so much, and when he asked, his father replied, "God gave me this in order for me to help people. If I close my hands, God can close the heavens." In church, whenever there was a project, he was among the first to contribute. Ezra would sit beside his mother during services and hear people whisper, "Pastor Eze is a blessing. God is really using that man." Ezra felt proud. He felt safe knowing his father was respected, and he felt secure knowing the church loved them. Pastor Eze was also known for his honesty. He hated shortcuts and he hated lies. Even when lying could save him trouble, he refused. Some people called him foolish. Some said he was too straightforward, but he did not care. "I fear God," he always said. The visa business came naturally to him. People trusted him easily because of his reputation. He did not advertise much. Church members brought others. Friends told friends. Ezra saw people come to their house smiling, hopeful, talking about dreams of traveling abroad. Canada, UK, Europe, and even America. Some wanted to study. Some wanted to work, while some just wanted a better life. His father explained things clearly. He didn't promise what he could not keep, and no lies. For many years, it worked smoothly. People got visas. Testimonies filled the church. During Thanksgiving services, people would stand and say, "God used Pastor Eze to help me travel." But slowly, things began to change. Ezra notices first in small ways. His father became quieter. He spent more time on phone calls and he frowned more often. At night, Ezra would sometimes hear his father praying longer than usual. Not loud prayers, but soft, heavy prayers. Then, the discussions about traveling to Abuja started. Ezra's father explained to his wife that his foreign contact had issues with him. Business was slowing down and he needed new partners. "I just need to fix this," he said. "Everything will be fine." His wife believed him because her husband had always fixed things. Before leaving for Abuja, he prayed with the family. He laid his hand on Ezra's head and blessed him. "Be strong," he said, "and please take care of my wife, your mother." Ezra nodded seriously, not knowing how heavy those words would become. After his father left, the house felt different. Phone calls became more frequent. Voices became tense. Then the visits started. People came asking questions. "When will my passport return?" Ezra watched fear enter his mother's eyes. At first, whenever Pastor Eze called, he would say everything was under control. Soon he started saying there were delays, but it turned out that the new partners were lying to him. One day, Ezra heard his mother crying quietly in the bedroom. That was where he knew something was wrong. Soon, police became involved, not because his father was a criminal, but because angry people wanted answers. Ezra did not understand everything, but he understood fear. The same people who once smiled now shouted. The same voices that once prayed now threatened. Pastor Eze could not come home. He was stuck in Abuja chasing people who vanished like smoke. At night, Ezra lay awake listening to his mother pray. God, please help us, she whispered. Then he realized something painful for the first time. Good people can fall into trouble. Honest men can be trapped and respect can disappear overnight. Yet, through it all, Pastor Eze never denied God. Even when he called home sounding tired and broken, he still said, God will help us. Ezra wanted to believe him, but deep inside, fear was growing. The man who gave everything, the man who helped everyone, now needed help himself. When Pastor Eze left for Abuja, nobody knew it would be the beginning of their hardest days. At first, the trip sounded normal because Abuja is the capital city with big offices, big men and big opportunities. He believed that if his first partnership goes well, then his business will become even better than before. The first few days in Abuja was calm. His father called regularly. He sounded confident and he talked about meetings and connections. I have met them, he said one evening. They know what they are doing. Ezra's mother felt relieved. Then, the stories began to change. The people his father met spoke very well. They dressed very well. They used big words. They talked about embassies like they worked there. They showed confidence. They showed documents, but Pastor Eze never knew they were fake documents, and they spoke with authority. They promised things that sounded too good but not impossible. Direct access, no stress and fast processing, they said. Pastor Eze was careful with them at first. He asked questions, he tested them and he waited. But they were also very patient because they knew how to gain trust. They knew how to sound convincing and they also knew exactly what to say. They told him stories of people they had helped. They mentioned names. They spoke about offices Pastor Eze could not verify easily, and slow his doubts faded. The pressure from clients also increased. People called every day. They wanted results because they trusted him. He did not want to disappoint anyone, so he took the biggest step. He handed over passports and he handed over money. Not his money alone, but people's money and people's dreams. That was when everything collapsed. Days passed, then weeks. No visas came out. When he asked questions, excuses came. The embassy system is down. There is a new policy. Come tomorrow, they will always say. Tomorrow became next week, and next week became next month. Whenever he pushed harder, the tone changed. The same people who once smiled now avoided his calls. Meetings were postponed again and again. Offices were suddenly shut, and Pastor Eze began to feel trapped. He realized too late that he had been played. He started moving around Abuja like a lost man, from office to office, from one promise to another. He slept little and ate less. Back home, the pressure exploded. Clients started calling Ezra's mother. Some shouted and some cried. They wanted answers the woman did not have. Ezra watched his mother's phone ring non-stop. He watched her face grow tired and scared, especially when people came knocking and asked angrily, "Where is your husband? What's going on? We want our passports." Ezra had never seen Arthur shout like that before. He saw fear in his younger sibling's eyes and he felt it himself. The church members were not left out because some pastors were affected and some workers were involved. Ezra's father was called names he never imagined. People People forgot the years of service. They forgot his sacrifices. They only wanted answers. Pastor Eze on his own could not return home, not because he wanted to cheat anyone, but because people were angry. And if he did, he would be arrested immediately. So he stayed in Abuja trapped. One night, he called home sounding weak. I am trying, he said. Please tell them I am trying. Ezra listened quietly. The man who was too strong on the pulpit now sounded broken. The money soon got finished. Hotel bills piled up and transport costs increased. He moved from hotel to cheaper places. Sometimes he stayed with strangers. He prayed harder than ever before, but answers did not come. Back home, food reduced, and at night they sat in darkness because power was cut. The whole problem began to multiply, and that was when Ezra understood that his childhood was over. One evening, something happened that Ezra would never forget. A group of men came to the house at night. They banged the gates loudly. They shouted his father's name. His mother told them that he was still stranded in Abuja. They did all manner of things that night, broke and scattered many things. They eventually left after 2 hours, but they promised to return. That night, nobody slept. Ezra sat quietly on the bed, and for the first time he was angry. He remembered how people once praised his father, how they called him a blessing. Now, they called him a criminal. He wanted to understand how love turned into hatred so fast, but he could not. One day he overheard his mother speaking to someone on the phone. Her voice was low and broken. I don't know how much longer I can do this, she said. I am seriously tired. Ezra felt something snap inside him. He realized his mother was carrying too much. That night, he couldn't sleep. He was thinking of what he can do to help his family, and that was how he remembered that he learned a skill, something that can fetch him money from his online space. He borrowed data from MTN and started. Within 2 weeks, he started earning from it. It was not much. Sometimes it was even embarrassing to call it money, but it was something. At first, he never told anyone about it. He used it for small things like data, transport, and little personal needs. But when the payments increased, he had to tell his mom. Mommy, he said sweetly, I have small money. His mother looked at him. How small? She asked. Ezra explained. He told her everything, how he earned it, how it came sometimes, and how it did not always come. His mother listened without speaking. Then she hugged her son tightly. You are still a child, she said. You should not carry this. Ezra did not answer. He knew he was still a child, but he also knew there was no other choice. He noticed that when he helped, his mother slept a little better. He stopped buying things he liked, and then he focused on the things the family needed. Sometimes he felt tired. Other times he wanted to cry, but he swallowed it. His father called again one night. His voice was so weak. He explained a lot of things. Then for the first time, Ezra spoke like an adult. Daddy, he said, don't worry too much about us. We are fine. He told his father how they had been coping and how much he had been paid online. There was silence on the line. The next thing Ezra heard was heavy sobs. His father began to cry and he was blessing him. Ezra felt relief, knowing that his efforts mattered, but something else was happening quietly inside him. As he carried responsibilities, he also carried disappointments. He noticed something strange. The church did not call, the elders did not come, and the other pastors did not visit. Nobody asked how they were surviving. He still believed God was watching, but he began to question the church and her people. 2 months later, He made more money online and he settled about 4 people that his father was owing, and that was when his father returned. As he returned, he pocketed his pride and told his son to teach him how to end like him, and Ezra did. It wasn't easy for him because initially he felt like he was wasting his time, but he kept on pushing. One Sunday, Ezra followed his mother to church for the first time in a long while. As they entered Living Truth Bible Assembly, he felt strange. The church looked the same. The chairs were the same. The pulpit was the same. But as people saw them, some looked away quickly. Some whispered and some pretended not to notice. Ezra felt small. Very small. They sat quietly at the back. The service went on as usual. Songs were sung, prayers were prayed, and sermons were preached. The pastor spoke about love. He spoke about standing by one another. He spoke about sacrifice, and Ezra listened carefully. He wanted someone to mention his father just once, but nobody did. After service, he expected someone to walk up to them, but as usual, nobody did. People greeted others warmly. They laughed and they discussed plans. Ezra and his mother stood alone. One elder finally came close, not to ask how they were and not to ask if they were safe. He only said, "Greet your husband." Oh, then he walked away. Ezra felt something crack inside him. The one that broke him completely was what 2 women said. Shebi na their papa caused this problem. Every malam to him kettle. Ezra felt heat rise in his chest. They did not talk about his father's years of sacrifice, and they did not talk about his kindness. They only talked like he was a stranger. Ezra began to understand that people were distancing themselves. They did not want to be associated with a criminal that they have labeled his father to be. They did not want their names mentioned. This was the same church that took offerings happily from his father, the same church that praised him publicly, and the same church that enjoyed his generosity. Now, when the same man needed them, they were gone. That was when he hated going to church. He would tell anyone who cared to listen. Not everyone who holds the Bible has a heart, and not every church practices what it preaches. One day, they had a very pressing need. Pastor Wesley called some people that he had helped in the time past, but nobody picked his call. He was so sad, and in the midst of that sadness, he started worshiping God. That was when he received a notification that what he was doing online had been monetized. The whole family became joyful. He dedicated his time to it, and within 6 months, he cleared all his debts and was now free to leave the walls of his house. It was as if God breathed on his digital business. Brand deals started coming, and he saw the need of building a structure. He got an office space. He registered the business properly. He put things in order, and when it was time, he announced that vacancies were open. People came. Many people, and Ezra noticed something that made his heart heavy. Among those who applied for the job were people from the same church, the same people who avoided them, the same people who whispered, and the same people who mocked his father during his worst days. They stood in his father's office now, smiling politely and submitting applications. Ezra watched quietly. His father did not insult anyone. He did not remind them of the past, and he did not embarrass them. He employed 3 of them, not because he wanted to prove a point, not because he wanted revenge, but because they were qualified. However, something had changed. This time, Pastor Yeze did not give unnecessarily. There were no free favors, no special treatments, and no extra handouts. He paid salaries, and that was all. Work for pay and responsibility for reward. At first, the workers were happy. Then complaints started. He has changed. He is wicked now. He hasn't forgiven us, because if he had, then what happened to his generosity? Ezra heard the talks. He watched people shake their heads and whisper again, but his father did nothing. He did not argue and he did not explain himself because he knew humans are wicked and insatiable. When some workers stopped coming to work, he did not ask why. When some resigned quietly, he did not beg them to stay. He simply replaced them and moved on. Ezra learned something important from watching his father. Forgiveness does not mean self-destruction, and kindness does not mean foolishness. His father still helped when necessary, but he helped with wisdom now. Later, the family quietly moved to another church just to serve God better, without noise and without pressure. But Ezra never returned, not because he hated God and not because he was hungry, but because the wound was deep. Church reminded him of silence. Church reminded him of abandonment, and church also reminded him of how quickly people forget good deeds. So he stayed away. Up to this day, he still believes in God. He still prays, but church remains a place his heart has not healed enough to enter again. And maybe one day it will, or maybe it won't. Hey African Tales by Karma Tribe, how are you all doing? For me, I am doing just fine. I hope you enjoyed the story and learned one or two things from it as much as I did. Before I leave today, kindly permit me to say this. I know some of you that are listening to me have stopped going to church because you were hurt. I want you to know this first. Your pain is valid. You are not weak for feeling it. You are not also wrong for stepping back because some wounds are too deep to ignore. Many people do not leave church because they hate God. They left because they were bleeding. Some were ignored when they needed help. Some were judged instead of understood, and some were betrayed by the very people they trusted. But please, hear me, my dear Karma Tribe. Do not allow what people did to you permanently take you away from God. People can fail badly, especially in church, but God has never failed. Church is made of humans, people with flaws, fears, pride, and unresolved pain. That is why sometimes church hurts more than the outside world. But that is also why church exists. The church is like a hospital. Remember, you don't go to the hospital because everyone there is healthy. You go because people are sick and need healing. In a hospital, you will meet patients who are in pain. You will meet patients who are bitter. You will meet doctors who are kind. And you will also meet doctors who are tired. Yet, people still go because healing happens right there. Church is the same. It is not perfect. It is messy, but God still works there. You may need time to heal, and that is okay. Jesus himself withdrew sometimes. But please, don't turn rest into permanent distance. Isolation slowly weakens your faith, and none of us knows when Christ will return. This is not to scare you, but it's to remind you that our relationship with God matters deeply. Don't let bitterness be the last chapter of your faith story. Don't let unforgiveness sit in your heart like poison. Forgiveness does not mean what they did was right. It means you are choosing peace over pain. You don't have to return to the same church that hurt you. You can prayerfully find another place. And if God tells you to return, then who are you to disobey? Please, go back and serve God again. This time, focus on God, not on people, because people will always disappoint, but God remains faithful. Please, don't give up on fellowship. This new year, make up your mind to return to your Father's house. It is my prayer that when Christ returns, may He find all of us still holding on in faith in Jesus' name. Amen. If you enjoyed the story, please don't just scroll. Give it a thumbs up. Share with me your thoughts about the story or any experience at all in the comment section, as I would love to read from you. Kindly share the stories to your loved ones, to your friends, and to your families. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? Punch that subscribe button so that you can join the Karma Tribe free of charge. Until I bring the next interesting story your way, it is a goodbye from here, and God bless you.